Good afternoon, everyone. 4 o'clock straight up, a Tuesday edition of On Cue. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. Thanks for keeping us locked in on this 4th of November, 2025. And I hope everyone had a good sports Monday. You are enjoying your Tuesday. And what's very important about today, especially in the NFL, as we start to bleed past the NFL trade deadline, which hits 4 p.m. Eastern time, a fascinating, an absolutely wild, a frenzied NFL trade galore, if you will. Everything going on around the league. I mean, it's just incredible with some blockbuster moves, i.e., the New York Jets, which we are going to get into in a moment. But as always, get social with me at Rich Q on Q on X and IG, TikTok Rich Q on the mic, and of course the YouTube channel at Rich Q on Q. And we're also live on X and my YouTube channel, multiple platforms. So where do you guys want to start? I mean, the New York Jets deciding that they're going to go in, I guess you can say, so many different directions. And not only are the Colts saying we're going for it right now, but the Jets are saying we're going to stockpile draft picks. So the first big shocking, I guess you can say, shoot a drop in the Big Apple is that the Jets traded Sauce Gardner to the Colts for two first round draft picks and also A.D. Mitchell. So you look at this and you say, okay, well, who got better of the deal? Who got fleeced? Who didn't? Listen, this deal gives the Jets right now a squad that's 1-7, last place in the AFC East, pretty much a chance to build towards the future assets, right? And they weren't done. They turn around and they send 3-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle Quinyon Williams to Dallas for a 2026 second-round pick, a 2027 first-round pick, and defensive tackle Mazi Smith. So think about this now. If you're a Jets fan, Gang Green right now has 3 first-round picks in the 2027 NFL draft. Now, Gardner goes to a new squad. The Colts, they've got the best record in the AFC, along with the Pats in Denver, both at 7-2. The Colts, their secondary, they had some issues this past weekend in that second loss of the season against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, if you're a fan of Sauce Gardner, a player that I think is good, but I have always thought was overrated, you might be torn by this move. But at the end of the day, the Jets are showing you we need to acquire draft picks. We need to acquire draft picks, and we have to start building for the future. And it's one of the reasons they were making these types of moves. Now, obviously, as we're creeping past 4 o'clock, we'll get some late news coming down if other teams are making moves. But this showed me that you got to trust what they're doing. I mean, look, they signed him 5 months ago with that contract extension, and it kind of opens up the conversation of why in the world would they make that move now? But listen, this is the NFL, man. And when teams are trying their best to win, then they will make moves like this. And you're looking at the Colts right now. We can talk about what the Colts were giving up. We can talk about other teams, Jacksonville getting into the mix. There's some talk about Buffalo wanting to make a move. We already saw that the Philadelphia Eagles made a move. The Raiders making a move, sending one of their wide receivers, jettisoning one of their wide receivers. I mean, it's been frenzied, man. It's been frenzied. Now, if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, and you remember last night during the broadcast, and oh, by the way, the Dallas Cowboys are done. Yeah, we'll cook them on this Tuesday, without a doubt. I mean, just basically, Arizona just lives in Dallas's head, especially on the road on Monday Night Football. 27-17. Brissett played exceptional football. Cowboys had too many turnovers. But you heard Jerry Jones say, we are going to make a move. And then Troy Aikman kind of said, you might want to hold off because they're going nowhere. They're 3-5-1 right now. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're just not. But what do the Cowboys do? The Cowboys turn around and listen, I'm a little surprised by this move. And I know people right away are saying, what the hell are the Jets doing? We'll get into that. We'll get into that. But the fact that the Cowboys, and we're talking about the Jets move, the Cowboys basically get Williams. So the Jets trade Williams to the Cowboys for two picks, as I mentioned, to Mazi Smith. Williams is a good player. So the Cowboys gave up a 2020 second round pick, a 2027 first round pick, and as I mentioned, a defensive tackle, Mazi Smith. And that was the move that they needed to do to complete this trade for Williams. So they also acquired linebacker Logan Wilson from Cincinnati for a 2026 seventh round pick. So listen, there were discussions. We knew that they were going to make some moves. I mean, obviously, they trade away Micah Parsons, right? They get Kenny Clark back, who's acquired from Green Bay in that deal. The first round picks for Parsons. Williams is defensive tackle. Listen, they know they have to shore up that defense and they have to figure it out. And again, there's a lot of layers to unpack from what's going down today. I mean, Seattle adds a wide receiver, and the Seattle Seahawks are telling you, okay, look, we need some depth, right? The Steelers didn't move Ramsey. People thought, I don't know, there was a blog thinking he was going to move him. I'm like, what are you talking about? They just made a move for him. How about Jacksonville getting another weapon for Trevor Lawrence? So you go and get Jacoby Myers. So the Raiders trade Myers to Jacksonville for 2 draft picks. So now you got depth there if you're Jacksonville. And I actually thought the Giants were going to wake up Sleepy Joe and maybe get Jackson Dart another weapon. So the reason they made this move, obviously, is because you got Hunter moved into that role in week 7, right? Had that suffered a non-contact knee injury. So now you got to get some depth in there for Jacksonville. And they wanted to get a wide receiver that can catch the football. They lead the NFL in drops. So it's been a very busy day. And it started to kind of filter through late last night. And again, this is a big move for the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Jets. And again, the Jets to me are showing you that they're trying to acquire draft picks because they know they have needs, certain needs. So, yes, it certainly comes as a shocker. You know, JC is a Jets fan. He's in disbelief. He's tweeting right at me. Listen, they signed Sauce Gardner to a 4-year, $120 million contract extension in July. And that move, if you sign a player in July, in June, in July, in August, that type of deal, that kind of tells me that you view him as what? Part of the future going forward. And now you got Aaron Glenn, who, by the way, now he's not going anywhere. And then you got the GM, right? And now here's the plan, right? So now you got a couple months later and he's gone. Now, I never really thought Gardner was lockdown, shutdown. I didn't. But the fact that you get a first round pick in 2026 and one in 2027, that's a hell of a job. That is a hell of a job. Like you can celebrate it or not. You can criticize it if you want to, but it's a business. The NFL is a business. So if you look what the Jets have right now, 2026 first round, right? Via the Colts. 2026 second via the Cowboys. 2027 first via the Colts. 2027 first via the Cowboys. They're building assets. It's something that the Eagles do in Howie Roseman. That's why I thought it was foolish for people to actually think you're going to give up 2 to 3 number ones for Myles Garrett. It made no sense. So it's a smart move. It's a smart play by the Jets. And the Dallas Cowboys needed to upgrade their defense, period. Period. Their defense stinks. Their secondary is suspect. They can't get to the quarterback. Their linebackers have no gap discipline. They're not a good defensive football team. They're not. They give up a lot of points, and you can move the ball with ease. And they figured, look, if we're going to compete in the NFC East, if we're going to compete with the Philadelphia Eagles, we're going to compete in the NFC with teams like the Rams and the Lions and Seattle that can move the football, Green Bay, and score. We got to shore up the defense. This move is not for this season. It's not. This move is for going forward. And that's how you have to broach it. So 10 after 4 right now on a Tuesday, and the Giants still haven't done anything, which, again, it to me, you almost get to this point where you're like, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? If you look around some of these wide receivers, you know, Deebo Samuel's name is being floated out there. I look at the Giants and I'm like, you got Neal, that's a bust. You got Hyatt, that's a bust. You didn't trade them. That's friggin' malpractice. I don't care if you got a bag of balls for him. Get them off the roster. Get them off the roster, please. Like, wake the hell up. So the one again, let me just bring the Eagles in for a second. As expected, we knew AJ Brown wasn't going to get moved. So for those that are saying, "Oh, the Eagles, I think it can happen. I think it can happen. I think it could happen." No, no. So just let's move past that. So the fact that the Cowboys decide will send higher of their 27 first round picks, right? Their own or the Packers to the Jets for Williams, that now it's created what they call a freeze on both selections. So neither can be used or dealt until the end of the 2026 season. If you're wondering. If you're wondering. So very busy and chaotic day in the NFL. Absolutely busy and chaotic. I didn't think it was going to be a bombshell, a fire sale, a sell off. The other, I guess, team or teams to bring in the equations are the ones that we thought were maybe going to sell off a little more, right? So the deadline's pretty much has come and gone. And here we go. The Miami Dolphins, Waddle's still on the roster. Now, again, stuff can filter through, but by all accounts, keep refreshing X and whatnot. He's still with the Miami Dolphins. And I know that there were some conversations. I know the Giants obviously were interested in Waddle. I know the Giants made a couple calls. I know the Packers called the Giants for Flott. No way you're going to trade that kid. But Waddle to me is a young receiver, multiple 1,000-yard seasons in the league. He's been part of that Mike McDaniel's offense since he became the head coach. Listen, I think when you paired him up with a healthy Tyreek Hill, those two were just unstoppable. And now that Greer's out in Miami, I thought maybe with a 2-7 record, the GM out, obviously guys got to step up and place interim tag, if you will, for the GM, but you still got to make these moves, and they're going nowhere. And I thought there was going to be a little more of a shakeup. Now, I'll also add this. Jonathan Jones, CBS Sports insider, who's very good at his job, reported that, you're talking about a, solid piece to the offensive puzzle with Miami, right? And they didn't want to part ways with him. But yet they were looking at players like Mika Fitzgerald, Matthew Judon, Bradley Chubb, that they would maybe jettison. And I guess, again, from the reports, is that a first-round draft pick would have been the starting point. So the Giants definitely called the Dolphins about Jalen Waddle. So did Denver, and so did Seattle. And the Dolphins now probably looked at this. Well, we already have a thin wide receiver group. You lose Hill for the rest of the season. That's a huge, huge blow. They're not going anywhere. So, again, trading Waddle would not help matters, but you can get a good haul back. And I think sometimes you got to keep that in consideration. I really do. And you also got to look at that contract extension he signed in 2024 under contract until 2029. So the Dolphins would have saved around $7 million in cap if he's traded to another team, and they got to take on 23.6. Well, the Dolphins would in dead cap in 2026, 23 million. Very busy, absolutely fanatical pace. Let's open it up 15 past the 4 o'clock hour on a Tuesday. Isn't Sauce Gardner the Will Smith of the NFL? He's a tad overrated, I would say. But remember, too, when the Jets had Jamal Adams, didn't everyone say you can't move him? He's unbelievable. He had that big game against the Giants, the strip sack, the pick, the touchdown, early in Jones's career when the Giants and the Jets played, and everyone was like, you can't move him, you can't move him, you can't move him. Well, I mean, listen, they moved him, right? I mean, here's a guy that's floating around. I think he's who with the Raiders right now, 15? So guys get moved. Guys can be boom or bust. This is a player. The Jets selected Adams in the first round, 6 overall, 2017. And there was a lot of hype. I don't look at Sauce, and I say this with respect. I'll throw his way. I will. I'll throw his way. I just, to me, I think he was all sauce, no sizzle, right? Yeah, defensive rookie of the year. Yeah, first team all pro. Okay, fine. But he hasn't played exceptionally well over the last year plus. And this season, sometimes some of these comments that players are making, they're not happy. They don't want to lose. But I find it interesting that they pick up the fifth year option and then they turn around and they give him a 4 year contract extension. That's telling to me. And then they turn around, 4 or 5 months later, and you trade him to the Colts. You trade him to the Colts. But I don't look at him. The Colts needed cornerback health. And they got a player, no doubt. They got a player. But again, I'm not going to sit there and tell you that this guy's a game changer, a game wrecker. Far and few in the NFL these days. Great job by New York. 2 first rounders is a steal. I think so. I think anytime you get 2 first rounders, man, it's a great, and you're giving up and you're building for the future, 100%. Is Williams such a game wrecker that he will elevate the Dallas secondary? It's not about this season. It's not. It's not about this season. But they needed a pass rush because if you have a pass rush, it takes a lot of pressure off the secondary. If you get to the quarterback, it takes pressure off the corners, the DBs. That's just a fact because you're being disruptive. So it's not always about getting to the quarterback from a sack standpoint, but hits, disruption. Sure, you want to get to sacks at the end of the day, but where Dallas lacked is they never really had a sustained pass rush and they can't stop the run. You got to clog the middle a little bit. You have to be disruptive. He's a good player. He's a really good player. He is. He's an all pro. He's an all pro. He's a good player. Look, how many years ago did we talk about Leonard Williams, right? Went from the Jets and the Giants, and the guy's making plays for Seattle. Just different change of scenery. Here we go. He's kind of coming to his own. This kid's 27. He's in the prime of his career. He's a good player. He's a good player, and Dallas needed to shore up that defense, period. Period. Now, again, are you willing? Did you want to part? Think about this. So the Jets ship them to Dallas. The Jets get a 2026 second round pick, but they get that 2027 first round pick. High price? Perhaps. And they also got a defensive tackle into the mix in Matt Smith. And the fact that the Cowboys turn around, they made a deal with Cincinnati, they got Logan Wilson, a linebacker. Again, they're letting you know that they needed to fix the secondary. And if you look at Williams, as I mentioned, you're talking about the secondary. I'm talking about the defense as a whole. A lot of quarterback pressures, 281 quarterback pressures, right? Ranks 7th among DTs. 118 of those pressures have come under 2.5 seconds. So that's 4th in that span. That's since 2019. That means he's disruptive. He's altering how offenses now have to game plan around him or that defense. So again, you can look at this and say Dallas got better, but they gave up a little bit, no doubt, and the Jets got what they wanted in return. And that's all that you can ask for. I like what Jags did. Myers is a nice addition. Yeah, because they're thin. They're so thin at the wide receiver spot, Scott. They're so thin, and they got guys dropping balls left and right. Now, what's really interesting about that move? I mean, if you guys, you do the player props, and you guys are all about fantasy, right? Think about this right now. Who are the wide receivers right now for the Raiders? You got Trey Tucker. You just traded Myers, who has 33 receptions, hasn't found the end zone just yet, but he's a good wide receiver. Who else you got? You got Thornton Jr., who's a wide receiver. You got another kid, Jack Beck, I think. This opens up, if you're talking about stats-wise, who's going to get fed big time is Bowers. I mean, this kid might have 170 receptions when it's all said and done. I mean, they're going to force feed this kid to football. So if you're a fantasy guy, you might as well start this kid every week. If you're a player prop guy, he's going to try to find the end zone. I do like the move. I really do. Along with NFL trades, will you report on election updates? I will not, because I stay in my lane and talk sports. I leave the other stuff to you guys that watch CNN and Fox and all that other kind of crap. I get my 8 hours. Well, not really, because I've been working the overnights doing the Warriors Thailand. So no, I'll leave that up to you. You guys can fill me in on that. My man Jovan chimes in. Shaheed to Seattle. Yes, sneaky good move. They needed a downfield threat. Yep, yep. To go with JSN Cup and Horton. Here's a who. That's right. And how about this? You get another toy, another weapon for the perennial All Pro, the perennial MVP candidate in slinging Sammy Darnold. I'm telling you right now, and you guys don't want to admit this. Seattle can go in Philadelphia come playoff time, and they can beat the Philadelphia Eagles. They can beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Sam chimes in. Q, how about this? The Colts have the best cornerback in football, have arguably the best running back, have a great O line, have the first or second wide receiver room, have a franchise QB. I'm saying it right now, and they have a wonderful head coach. Here we go. All right, you guys getting a little giddy on that. That's fine. Chucky Boy chimes in. Q, how about this? Daniel Jones, your quarterback, has a legit shot at being the starting quarterback in a Super Bowl this season. Meanwhile, Sleep Joe can't even find someone willing to trade an Amazon gift card for Hyatt and Neil. I love sports. Loving the show, Q. Appreciate that, Chucky Boy. Yes. Good for Daniel Jones, right? All right, what do we got here? So the Saints trading a lineman, Trevor Penning, to the Chargers, 6 rounder in 2027. Obviously, the Chargers lost a couple on that line, all being the bigger one. What do we got? What do we got here? RJ and the DMB chimes in. Q, did you hear that Ryan Clark said that he had no issues with Jaden Daniels playing down 30 in the fourth quarter? Ryan Clark's a jackass. We talked a lot about that the other day. That move, that can cost a head coach a job. That really could. The fact that you had that kid out there 38-7, just stop. Brutal. Brutal. Aiden chimes in. Q, my Dallas Cowboys seem to be a rudderless ship. They reek of destination. You trade Micah for a haul of picks, so their salary cap isn't too heavy. I didn't think they were one defensive player away. They go 3-5-1 and create on Monday Night Football. And a solid, not great opportunity to build for the future. What do? They trade premium draft capital and a defensive player. Yeah. Listen, I think the Jets fleeced the Dallas Cowboys. I think the Cowboys got a very good player. Don't get me wrong, but I think the Jets fleece them here because they weren't going anywhere. They just weren't going anywhere. Matt chimes in. Q, did you see that Brees Hall wants to get traded now? I mean, I would say that's all great, but he's not going anywhere. And also, they didn't move Garrett Wilson. And if you're a Jet fan, you should be happy with that. Listen, this is the NFL. Teams get fleeced. Howie has fleeced teams for 15 plus years. He's done it all the time. And Jerry wants to make a splash because that's what Jerry Jones does. But I'm of the belief you acquire draft picks because the capital helps you substantially in the NFL. It really does. And if you got some wiggle room and you've got some money to play with, and you build a young team and you bring in the right GM, the right head coach, the Jets believe they had that. Glenn's not getting fired after one season, even though we've talked about it ad nauseum until they won that football game. They've got draft capital, and you can't put a price on that. You just can't. You really can't. Kevin and Jackson chimes in. Q, are you as surprised as I am that the Giants didn't do diddly? Nope. Sarge says, Q, do you think the Giants are going to fire Daves during the bye week? There is a report that Joe Shane might be safe and Dable is not necessarily safe. My belief is this. If one goes, they both go. And to put it in perspective, just to show that when I went off the other day and all these Giants fans were saying I was acting like a jackass and I was being way too overly critical and I was making a mountain out of a molehill or a molehill out of a mountain, whatever the hell, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, whatever the hell it is. This team is so undisciplined. I pulled up the numbers. They rank first in the NFL, first in delay of game penalties, which is unacceptable. They rank fifth in false starts. Now, how many times have you seen after a timeout a team gets a delay of game penalty or a false start? They rank second in defensive pass interference in the NFL. 200 yards lost because of DPI. They rank fifth in total penalties committed, 69. They're fourth in total penalty yardage, almost 600 yards. They have blown not one, not two, but three two-possession leads versus Dallas, the Saints, and Denver. The one possession lead, obviously, in Denver. Okay, fine. They can't stop anyone on third down. Only Burns is getting to the quarterback. The defense has been underwhelming. The defensive coordinator has done a piss poor job. The offense at times has been ridiculously inconsistent and messy. And you're seeing a stud quarterback emerge with no weapons, but they lack discipline. And they've quit. And they have the most porous uses of timeouts, and they can't win through game planning. And it's coaching. And that is an indictment on the coordinators, and it's also an indictment on the head coach, period. First and foremost. So, yes, Kevin, and those guys, I think I was overly critical. Guess what? I got news for you. Brian Daboll is going to be out of a job. He's not a good head coach. I had Giant fans texting me. My buddies were like, you know what? You were right. You called it. You said this guy was not a good head coach. He's not, and he's overwhelmed. And you're seeing what happens when you get overwhelmed. You have absolutely no pulse, no heartbeat. You have no sense of what's going on within that locker room. As you guys like to joke with me, you can't read the room, right? The trained eye, and you're delusional. And the fact that this man has not sacked the defensive coordinator and fired him is a major indictment on this franchise and also on this head coach. And for that, I would say he gets fired. For that alone, I would fire this man, period. So with the draft picks the Jets just acquired, is this a trade up situation? And if so, it's not for Arch Manning. So who would be the quarterback they will look at? My buddy's a Jets fan, and he texts me and he goes, "We are starting to march for Arch," which I coined that phrase, by the way. Who knows? Who knows? I'm telling you right now, let's not put all our ducks in a Arch Manning basket, right? We know the name. We got the hype. Okay, fine. And the Jets have done this before, have they not? Young quarterbacks, their career starts off pretty rocky with the Jets. And what happens? Some of these guys have gone on and they've revitalized their career. They've turned it around. Sam Darnold, Geno Smith. I mean, those, you really can't. I mean, Geno Smith was able to cash in with Seattle. Now, he's feast or famine with the Raiders, but he's turned around his career. And the Jets were like, we can't do this anymore, right? You got to jettison this guy. They gave up on Sam Darnold, who's 23 years old. Zach Wilson is a bust. Sanchez, okay, back-to-back championship games, AFC championship games. Okay, fine, I get it. But again, the Jets need a quarterback. They need a quarterback. Now you start to stockpile these assets. And if you kind of really go deep and you start to already think about it, you guys are a lot more hardcore college than I am. I mean, it depends on who's coming out, who's not coming out, right? You got all of a sudden that kid from Indiana, right? Mendoza is creeping up the draft boards, like mock drafts having number one. They got the kid Ty Simpson, number 2, going to Cleveland. They got Dante Moore from Oregon going to the Jets at 3. I mean, we're talking mock, right? They got the Giants at 5, taking a wide receiver, Cardinal Tate, who's from Ohio State. So I can't really give you an overview on that right now because it's so early and we're only in week 9 in the NFL season. Got to let it play out. But Scott's point, they definitely need a quarterback. Forget about the bridge. Now you start to have, you know, um, you've got assets that you can mess around with. Jets have to follow the Lions model. Got to find guys with those premium picks now. Detroit accelerated their success with the picks of Gibbs, outstanding player, Hutchinson, outstanding player, Laporta, solid, Williams, St. Brown. Yes. Yes. And remember, too, you're talking about the Lions model. Who is defensive coordinator? Aaron Glenn. Now he's head coach of the Jets. So, you learn something, you take it to that next job, so to speak. Arch needs another year to see if he will be a legit NFL player or not. I don't even have a read on Arch Manning. I mean, I'd be lying to you right now if I told you I watch every snap of Arch Manning. I don't. If the game's on, right? If I'm not calling games, if I'm not traveling, I'll flick it on, check out the highlights. But I don't think this is a blow you away quarterback class. The problem is the Jets are stuck in that rock and a hard place where they're going to need a quarterback. Now, do you want to do a reach again, a stretch? I don't know. I threw this out there. If I was the Jets, I still would have made a play for Shedeur Sanders. I really would have. And I wasn't trolling anyone. I was being very uh, sincere when I was saying that. I really was. Because if Cleveland goes out and they draft another quarterback, I mean, what the hell are they doing? What are you doing? And you didn't have to give up anything. Give up a fourth round pick for Sanders. I understand with the play calling now and how the reps are going to be divided. I get all that kind of stuff. When Sanders plays, I'll believe it when I see it. But that kid's going to just waste away in Cleveland. Get him out of there. I would say the same thing for like Cleveland is not a good landing spot if you're a rookie quarterback. It's just not. It really isn't. It's a horrible spot because there's no rhyme or reason. And the thing so my point the other day with drafting a quarterback top 10. So I joked about the Giants not doing anything. If Joe Shane is going to get fired in a couple weeks, I really don't want him toiling around. Now, can you have gotten rid of Hyatt and Neal? Yeah. Banks bust. You could have. You could have. But I get very weary of I'm going to allow you to cook the dinner. I'm paying for the groceries. You're cooking the dinner, but you're not even going to be here after the food's laid out. That worries me a little bit. That worries me a little bit. So when you go and you draft, or you draft up, or you draft back, you draft down to go get a quarterback like a Jackson Dart, it's on your resume. Like that's your draft pick, period. And we can sit there and say Dable really wanted him, Shane did. It doesn't matter. You're the GM of note who signed off on that draft selection, on that move, on that pick. There's no disputing that. It's how it works in the NFL. But now, do I really want you tinkering with this team going forward? Do I want you to make decisions when clearly you have shown me at times you really don't have the eye for talent evaluation? Now, will I give you some of the other players? Yes. Will I say there were some nice hits? Tracy, Johnson, okay, verdict's still out. Carter, Thibodeau is a little inconsistent. You made the move for Burns. I give you all that. But you also paid Slayton. You paid Galladay a couple of years ago. That was a bust. You brought in Waller. That was a bad decision. So there's hits, there's misses. But when you have so much draft capital, man, you have to have the right GM in place. And the Jets believe they do right now. They do. They do. And think about this. Consider how much teams have traded to move spots in the first round over the last 3, 4, 5 years. The Saints, they moved from pick 16 to 11 to get Olave, right? They sent a third and a fourth to get it done. The Chiefs included a third and fourth round picks to move from number 29 to 21 to go and get McDuffie. So, small little differences. And to me, first and second, yes. Fourth and fifth, not so much. First and second, yes. Fourth and fifth, not so much. Late first, early second, apples and oranges. It's kind of kissing your sister. It's a moot point right there. To me, it's all the same. It's all the same. But man, I'm telling you, if I don't have a GM in place, like the Raiders, they're not a good football team. You got rid of a talented wide receiver. You're going to help out Jacksonville. Not a problem, right? Here's a player that did not want to be there. He just didn't. He didn't. He requested to be traded over the summer, and now he got exactly what he wanted. Now, the Raiders' passing offense was not good. But now you go to Jacksonville, you're going to get back Hunter. You got Brian Thomas. I'm just talking about players that are hurt, right? And who else they got? Who's the other kid? The kid Strange, right? The other tight end. So now you're going to a team that healthy, they have a little juice on that offense. Of course, it's contingent upon Trevor Lawrence, whose completion percentage is under 60%, which is not going to get it done this season. But point being is, again, you feel as though you're acquiring talent. As Jovan mentioned with the Saints, that kid going to Seattle for a fourth and fifth, I think it's a decent return. But this kid is also a 27-year-old wide receiver, 1 year left on his deal. And he's fast. He's got speed, man. And that's an upgrade. I mean, that's an upgrade. And Darnold loves to what? Throw the deep ball. So, I thought the Jets made out very well. I really do. I thought a little surprise. Baltimore, right? Baltimore. What did they do? They acquire an edge rusher from the Titans. They turn around and they acquired. Would they get a safety? Right. They did deal with the Chargers. They made a couple moves. The Eagles made a couple moves. These teams are basically saying, especially with Baltimore, with all the injuries, we're building. Finish out the season strong, get Lamar healthy. We're going to be right back there in contention in the AFC North next year. Philadelphia Eagles, defending Super Bowl champs. We are not going to give up what we covet so much, draft picks, because the Rams did it several years ago. They won a Super Bowl. They sold their soul. Yes, they're in position to be a good team coming out of the NFC, but point being, that's not how Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles work. They want sustainability. The Eagles are looking at this as a long-term investment, man. A long-term investment. I was a little surprised Tampa, Denver, Pittsburgh, New England, somewhat quiet. I feel bad for Breece Hall. He's stuck in a bad spot. I really do. But that's the NFL, man, period. Is there any fallout from YouTube flexing their muscle and blocking Monday Night Football last night? Did the NFL take a hit? I wasn't even paying attention to that, to be quite honest with you. I really wasn't. I mean, I think now there's so many options out there to watch games. I don't think anyone's kind of taking a hit, right? I mean, it was a contract dispute, right? So you're dealing with a contract dispute between Disney and YouTube. Now, does it stink that some people were kind of iced out? Yeah. And I know NFL, I know there are a lot of fans that were pissed off because it blacked out. The blackout stopped what? Millions of people from watching Monday Night Football. But as I told you guys before, there's other ways to watch, right? There's other ways to watch these games, whether it's Fire Stick, whether it's, using certain servers, whether it's using certain VPNs, different websites. I mean, listen, the problem is this. You got the YouTube, you got the ESPN, you got the carriage dispute, and it was not going to get resolved prior to Monday Night Football. I don't know why people are shocked. You want to sit there and say it's Disney's fault because they're greedy? Whatever. And they want YouTube customers to subscribe to their services? That's fine. Don't fall for the bait then. I mean, the game wasn't even competitive, to be quite honest with you. Apparently, Disney is losing $5 million for every day of the blackout. I mean, you have a situation like that. It's almost like the government shutdown. Not talking politics, but like come to a happy medium. Come to a happy medium. That's all. And resolve it. Just resolve it, right? Sup, people? Sanders talk as soon as I get online. Q has come over to the dark side. Negative. New phones. Who this? He Heisman. So did I miss your who won the trade deadline talk? Yeah, no, I don't do that. Um, what is Jerry doing down there in Delusion Land where Dallas is most called your best defensive player for a couple of decent ones? Jets made out. Jets made out. I'm not saying the Browns quarterback situation isn't bad, but Flacco shows you if you have talent around the quarterback, it can help win with some of your flaws. So Browns definitely need to draft talent first, in my opinion. But again, will they? Will they draft another quarterback? And they haven't had their luck. Q starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel in Duval. Let's go. No, I'm not. Listen, it's he Heisman, he 12 man, new headphones, who this? That's how it is. It's not 12 man. I know it's 12 man and I know it's Heisman, but I like to say 12 man because of the number 12. I do it to just to rub, new headphones, who this? The wrong way. That's all. Read the room, man. I just say it, a little passive aggressive, tongue in cheek. And no, by the way, Christina has not chimed in on this thought out Tuesday or Thursday. I don't even know anymore. Let me get somewhere your comments get social as well. Oh my goodness. All right, let me get to some more of these comments. I saw the look ahead lines, by the way. Uh, let me throw these out there for you guys. This is for we're already in week 10. Is it me or does the NFL season go way too fast? All right. You've got Denver laying almost 10 against the Raiders. Colts at home laying 7. Giants are a 4-point dog against the Bears. Buffalo is laying 10 on the road against the Miami Dolphins. Here you go. Jets and the Browns. Browns are a 2.5-point favorite on the road. Oh, good game. 1 o'clock CBS. Patriots and Tampa Bay. Early line. Bucks opening at 3. Cardinals and Seattle. Seattle's laying 7. Rams and the 49ers. That's going to be a hell of a game. That's got to be 425. You got the Eagles coming off the bye against Green Bay. Green Bay's laying 2.5. They also made a move for a tight end. Did you guys watch the game last night? If you tuned into yesterday's show, I asked Lloyd any shot that they move off from Kyler Murray or dangle him as trade bait. And I know Gannon came out and basically said that Brissett is going to remain the starter. But there's something to be said about a 32-year-old veteran who's been around the block, who's had success in the NFL, who's a pro's pro, and he stands in the pocket and he delivers the football and he throws a nice football. Yeah, there were a couple plays that he missed, but last night he threw for 267. He completed close to 67% of his passes. Just to put it in perspective, Brissett has started 3 games this season for Arizona. Okay, 3. The Colts game, they lost by 4. He threw for 320 yards. He completed 62% of his passes. The Green Bay game, they lost that game late. I think it was on a field goal. He threw for 279 and he threw for close to 70% completion percentage. Last night, 21 to 31, 261, 67%, 2 touchdowns. He's thrown 6 touchdowns and 1 pick over his last 3 games. Like at this moment, he's better than Kyler Murray. Hands down, better than Murray. Hands down. And yet, Gannon basically comes out because why? The money that Murray's making. And he says, what? Brissett's going to be a backup when Murray comes back. I'm of the belief you still ride the hot hand. I had this argument with Mac Jones and Purdy. And we know that, is Jones going to get the start again? But if I'm Arizona, they respond to this veteran. I don't see them doing that at all. At all. With Murray, he's frustrating at times. He runs around. He wants to take off. He doesn't hang in the pocket. He is somewhat diminutive. He's small, and at times he has a lot of passes that are battled down. Look, he's going to battle, But at this point, I would stick with Brissett. I really would. I would stick with him. And listen, the head coach makes the decision. Period. We know that. But as I mentioned, this is his third straight outing, and he's played really well. And he hangs in the pocket and he gets rid of the football fast. I mean, I don't know, man. You might want to walk back that comment. If we look at the standings right now in the NFC, Eagles, top seed, Tampa, Seattle, Green Bay, the Rams, the 49ers, the Lions, the Bears, 6-3. You got a log jam. You got a log jam. Forget about the Saints. Forget about the Giants. Washington's cooked. Atlanta's eh. Arizona, I'm not going to cook them just yet. Cowboys are cooked. I just don't like the makeup of the team. Minnesota, I don't trust that quarterback. You got the Panthers. I had them going to the playoffs, if you recall, as a sleeper. Chicago's in the mix. Detroit, I mean, it's a logjam. It's an absolute logjam right now in the NFC. And then conversely, in the AFC, the Colts, New England, Denver, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, the Chargers, Jacksonville, Kansas City, eighth seed, 5-4 right now. The Texans, Baltimore, all these teams on the outside looking in. I still think when it's all said and done, Baltimore's got a run in them. And they have a very favorable schedule. When the Ravens, who right now sit at 3-5, when they're 6-5, come talk to me. Come talk to me. They got the Vikings, the Browns, the Jets, and Cincinnati. They go on this winning streak. That's 6 in a row. 4 more. That gets them to 7-5. And it's like that, nasty 4-game losing streak where the defense was horrible means absolutely nothing. They should be able to win these games coming up. These are all winnable games. So I'm not going to discount Baltimore just yet. I feel the same way about Arizona. I really do. Now, did I have them as a playoff team? Yes, along with Carolina. Those were my sleeper dark horse teams. They got Seattle coming up. That's a huge game on the road. 49ers, tricky spot. We're talking about divisional games now. Jacksonville at home, Tampa Bay. If Arizona makes the playoffs like Chicago, they're going to have to earn it. But I would ride the hot hand of Brissett. I really would. I would ride the hot hand of Brissett. New headphones. Yeah, new headphones. Who dis? Yeah, absolutely. I marked the tape, Q. Did you say Jags can't catch the Colts, then Colts don't show it Pittsburgh? What? I marked the tape, Q. I marked the tape. Q did say Jags can't catch the Colts, then Colts don't show it in Pittsburgh. Colts are winning the division. Just stop. They're winning the division. Winning the division. Jay chimes in. Q, I don't understand. Such a quiet deadline for the Giants. You have any input on that? I'm sure that they made calls, but they probably didn't want to give up draft capital. And again, I think for a team that's 2-7, I know you guys don't want to hear this. That's the right move. That's the right move. They're not going to trade Lawrence. They're not trading Thibodeau. They weren't going to trade Tracy. They weren't going to trade Singletary. They're thin at the corner and safety position, so they're not trading the guys that are actually healthy because they're still trying to be competitive. Now, would I have moved Evan Neal, Jalen Hyatt, and Deontay Banks? Yes. But I'm not going to sit here and get all up in arms for, two guys I don't even play and a kid that's always getting cooked out there. I'm just not going to do that. That's ridiculous. I'm just not. Matty Ice chimes in. Q, did you say that Gardner was overrated? Yes. Yep. He was. It's just my opinion. Just my opinion. That's all. Goes to Luca Brazzi. Keep it up and be swimming with the fishes. Napoleon made a good point today regarding MHJ looks. Murray can't see over the line. Brissett can. Yeah. I mean, that's an undisputable fact. We're not mocking his height. That's just reality. That's just reality. Murray's 5'10". And I think that's being generous. Brissett is 6'4". Like, keep playing him. And oh, by the way, what did I say yesterday when Starvin Marvin Harrison Sr. was bitching and complaining? What did I say last going into the game last night? Watch Marvin Harrison get all these friggin' reps. You happy with the offense now? Oh my God. Did they not force feed the kid the football? 7 receptions on 10 targets. They got him involved early and often. I think he had 4 or 5 catches in the first half alone. That's a nice win by the Cardinals. The Dallas Cowboys, man, I'll tell you, you got a game where the Dallas Cowboys have a quarterback that throws for 250. You run for a buck 23, and you know, run defense was against Arizona, but where they got lit up, Wilson had a big game. McBride, the tight end, is a nice player for Arizona. Harrison Jr. made plays, was again in that secondary and that soft seam over the middle. Dallas can't cover anyone. They just can't. And as I mentioned, if you get pressure on the quarterback's going to make mistakes. It's going to help out guys on an island. Now, they got the Raiders coming up. That's a winnable game. But then the Dallas Cowboys have the Eagles, the Chiefs, and the Lions. They're not winning those games. They're not. They're not a good football team. It's one of the reasons I thought they weren't going to make the playoffs. And Washington is done. We know that. Salim chimes in, Q, I'm a diehard Washington fan all the way back to the Gibbs era. I would say this. I listened to the show yesterday. I'm not 100% on board with you're thinking that Dan Quinn should lose his job, but I did not think it was a smart move by the head coach to keep your franchise quarterback out there late. All I said was this. It's a fireball fence. It is. It's malpractice. There's no reason you have your quarterback, your franchise quarterback, who's shown that he's brittle, in a game where he's getting sacked and hit left and right, and you're down 38-7. It made no sense. It just didn't. It made no sense. MHG Cookland on that TV. Oh, a little shimmy shake. And that type of, he didn't have a lot of real estate to work with. Even did you see CD Lamb? His expression was just like, whoa. Imagine if Parsons was still on the Cowboys. He'd be tweeting about it, or he'd run to the bench and have a podcast laughing because that's what he did. All right, fast approaching 5 couple minutes. I told you, rapid fire with the trade deadline today. So if you guys are just joining us, you have the Colts and Jets, right? That blockbuster. Colts add and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Sauce Gardner. C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Sauce Gardner. Jets get 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell. So Gardner goes to a playoff contender in the Colts. The Jets also trade Williams to the Dallas Cowboys. You saw Jacksonville with a move. You saw Seattle with a move. There's been a flurry of trades coming down. Some teams that did not make moves. Well, we already kind of highlighted what the Eagles were able to do defensively. Giants pretty much standing pat. Buffalo, quiet. Miami thought they were going to sell off. Quiet. Kansas City, quiet. I like, though, that we're starting to see separation now in the NFL, and we're going to get that again after week 10. We're going to start to see now the real legit teams. Yes, some teams stubbed their toe. Detroit stubbed their toe. The Indianapolis Colts stubbed their toe. They're going to rebound. They're going to be okay. The Colts are 7-2. I'll give you their schedule. They have the Falcons coming up. Could be a tricky spot, but that game's at home. This is where they're going to get tested on the road against KC. They have the Texans. They travel to Jacksonville and then Seattle. Very tough spot to play in Seattle in December on the road. The 49ers, we don't know where they're going to be. Jacksonville, the Texans. Now, again, just like the Bears, just like Arizona and Carolina, by virtue of that schedule, that remainder block, and it's a good thing that they got these wins in early to start the season. I didn't even throw in the tough loss to the Rams. But it's 7-2, and their win total, by the way, was 7.5. They would have to go. I think if the Colts go 4-3 and get to 11, That's going to get them in the playoffs, and I think it's going to win a division. Now, I'll give you Jacksonville's uh, schedule. Jags are 5-3. They have the Texans coming up, the Chargers, the Cardinals, the Titans is a winnable game, the Colts, Jets is a winnable game, Denver, the Colts, and the Titans are a winnable game. So Jacksonville right now is 5-3. So if I'm giving the Colts 11 wins after 8 games, you got 9 left. Jacksonville's got to go. What do they got to go? 6, 7. My liberal arts math. What are we looking at? 12-3, 7-2, 6-3 minimum. Their final 9 games. 6-3 minimum. You can't trip up if you're Jacksonville. I still like the Colts coming out of that division. New England and Buffalo, they're going to be playoff teams. And then you have the AFC West, Denver, the Chargers, Kansas City. There's a logjam. Denver's 7-2. Denver's games coming up. Now, mind you, they've won 6 straight. Yeah, 6-game winning streak. They have the Raiders, Kansas City, Washington, and the Raiders. So let's say they go 3-1. They stub their toe against Kansas City, even though that game's at home. That gets them to 10-3. They've got the Packers. I'll give them a loss there. 10-4. Jacksonville, I believe they beat. 11-4. At Kansas City, they got a split. So if I already gave them a loss at home, they got to go on the road and beat Kansas City. Either way, 12, 13, 12. 12's got to get you the AFC West, does it not? And then they close with the Chargers. Wow, that's a logjam. Man, that is a hell of a division right now, that AFC West. And that game against the Chargers, now, is that a candidate? I would say right now, I would flex the hell out of that game. If that game's for the AFC West, you got to flex it. You have to. And then you've got the AFC East. We already went through that. Let me just pull it up one more time. AFC North, I am still not writing off the Baltimore Ravens. I have to write off Cincinnati after that terrible 2 weeks. The loss to the Jets and the loss to the Bears. I mean, their season right now, instead of 3-6, they can be 5-4. Baltimore, I'm not going to write off. Let me give you Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's got the Chargers coming up on the road. I think they lose that game. Cincinnati at home, they get a win. On the road against Chicago, I'm giving them a loss. So now you're 1-2. At home against the Bills, I'm giving them a loss, 1-3. Ravens, I'm giving you a loss, 1-4. Dolphins, I'll give you a win, 2-4. At Detroit, I'm giving you a loss, 2-5. Against Cleveland in Ohio, on the road, I'll give you a win, 3-5. And then you close with the Ravens, I'm giving you another loss. Or maybe a win. I don't know. 3-5, so that gets them to 8. And that's not going to cut it. I don't think an 8-win team's coming out of the AFC. I think 9 is the capper. 9 is the minimum. And then NFC East, Eagles are running away with the division. NFC South, people think Chicago is going to be a sleeper here and just sneak right in there. Chicago's going to have to earn it. They got the Giants, the Vikings, the Steelers, the Eagles, the Packers twice, the 49ers, and the Lions. They got some tough games. You're going to get, if you get Philly, if you get 1 out of the East, you get 3 out of the North. That's a possibility. Green Bay, Detroit, Chicago all make the playoffs. I mean, Minnesota, mathematically, you're still there. Then you have the NFC South. Tampa and Carolina, that gets you to 6. And then the winner of the NFC West. See, I think you might get 2 coming out of the West. which means that a team maybe like Carolina is on the outside looking in, or you only get 2 out of the North. But the NFC West right now, Seattle, the Rams, the 49ers, the Rams are one of the hottest teams along with Seattle. And go back. Imagine if Seattle doesn't lose that game late when Darnold has the pick off the wide receiver helmet. Their only loss this season would have been against San Francisco to open up the season. They'd be a 7-1 squad. They've got the Rams coming up, tough game. Titans and Vikings, Falcons, I think those are wins. So that gets you to 10. That's 10-4 right now. Actually, check that. That would be 10-3. They got the Colts. I'll give them a loss. They will be 10-4. Rams, I'm going to give you a loss. And then they close with the Panthers and the 49ers. Got to split. Got to get to 11. Got to get to 11. The West is the most interesting race. You talking NFC West, AFC West? AFC West? It's very compelling. A lot hinges on what happens in the AFC West, because when I told you Kansas City might actually be on the outside looking in, and I picked Denver to not only win the division, get to the Super Bowl and win it, a lot is riding. My credibility is at stake here in the AFC West. I need a corporation. I need Bronco Ball to man up. I need something. The Rams, Seattle, or San Fran could be completely out. It's a very top heavy, but then the middle and the bottom, it's all cluttered. It's all cluttered. This is why the NFL season is so special, because it goes very fast, but it's only 17 weeks. And this adage, well, it's okay to trip up and lose a game. It's really not, especially in your conference. Philly is 5-1 in the NFC. Green Bay's 3-1-1. Tampa's 4-2 in the conference. San Francisco is 6-1 in the conference. Think about that for a minute. 6-1 in the conference. That's a hell of a conference record. 6-1. They lost to Jacksonville. They lost to the Texans, AFC squads. That's going to be a great game against the Rams coming up. Really good game. I think Stafford might have a field day too. All right, let's start wrapping up. I did not get to any NBA. We'll do that later on in the week. But as I mentioned, a lot. Oh, by the way, baseball, you got a lot of players opting out too. A ton of players opting out all over the place. How about Darvish? For the Pods, he's out. UCL surgery, out for 2026. So we'll talk a little baseball, a little hot stove, talk about some of these best fits for some of these free agents. But very busy day in the NFL with the trade deadline. It has come and gone. Some teams have been very silent. They have basically stood pat. And other teams have been very, very busy. So, I'll let you guys kind of enjoy the talking heads talk about who won, right? Who won the trades and all this nonsense, because nobody knows. Nobody knows until it plays out. Yeah, I mean, everyone thought, oh my God, I told you guys they weren't trading AJ Brown. Just stop. They weren't. They were not trading AJ Brown. And by the way, Hendrickson doesn't go anywhere. Breece Hall doesn't go anywhere, right? The Giants basically stood pat, while, again, you look at, these other teams that are stockpiling and obviously acquiring assets and being very, very, very busy. There was a lot of talk about Lawrence or Thibodeau being dealt kind of like Williams and Gardner for draft picks. And I never saw that happening. I just never believed, Lawrence has had a down year. You can sit there and say he's been doubled and all this stuff. Again, though, his production has lagged, and the body language, it's a very alarming to me. And I don't like to say players have quit, but the film doesn't lie. And I've seen a little quit from Dexter Lawrence. They weren't going to trade Thibodeau. He's turning into a leader. His play showing it. Then you got the Jets, obviously, their moves. Dallas, their moves. Dolphins got a lot of calls for Bradley Chubb, Jalen Waddle. They didn't do anything. Breece Hall sticks with the Jets. So, hey, that's just how it goes right now. That's period, man. And I know that a lot of teams within the AFC and the AFC East actually reached out to the Jets, but the Jets weren't going to trade any of those players to the divisional rival. They weren't. They just weren't going to do that. And obviously, the Chargers needed to upgrade their line, and they made that move. And as expected, we told you, AJ Brown nowhere. Debo Samuel and Von Miller were actually linked, right, to get traded again. So, man, I'll tell you, man, the NFL. It is absolutely just fanatical. All right, 5 o'clock straight up. Don't forget, I want to thank all of our sponsors. Get ready with tea, fresh roasted coffee, Three Brooks Bourbon, and the Jersey Shore Breaks. Of course, Played Again Sports, 2 locations, 1450 Clements Bridge Road. Back in the saddle on a Wednesday, a Woosah Wednesday. Tomorrow, manana, we'll talk a little NBA. We'll kind of continue to talk NFL, and we'll kind of put a bow on a very busy Tuesday in the NFL with the trade deadline, which is come and gone, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Talk a little hot stove baseball. Yeah, why not? Let's do it. And we'll start to look ahead to week 10 in the NFL. Good stuff with the comments. You guys are unbelievable. Always appreciate you guys keeping us locked in on a Tuesday. Don't forget, you can get social with me at Rich Q on Q, IG, X, and of course, TikTok, Rich Q on a mic. Don't forget to also subscribe to the YouTube channel at Rich Q on Q. Have a wonderful, absolutely wonderful Tuesday, and enjoy the NBA, and have fun with your fantasy lineups going forward for the week. And we will certainly talk to you tomorrow. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Hasta luego, buen día. Thanks for tuning into a Tuesday edition of On Q.